Welcome back. So it's been a while. I apologize. Lots of A-level marking and then GCSE marking, and then need time to unwind. So anyway, this hopefully is going to be our last video, and all we're going to do is just finishing off by demonstrating how to filter films by search. So there's a few different ways to do this. I want to make this the last video, so I'm probably just going to demonstrate one of those ways. We're going to use something called django-filter, which allows us to filter films by more than one criteria. So imagine, for example, that I might want to filter films that are PG and have an X in the title, or that they might be minimum rated of 6 out of 10 or something like that. So what we want is we want to be able to daisy chain our filters so that we can filter for more than one thing at the same time. So, okay, so that's the idea. So to start off, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just install django-filter. So we're going to say pip install. Yes, my local environment is set up. And pip install django-filter. Once that's installed, which now is, we go to our settings file. And in our settings file, we need to include Django. I believe. Let's just double check that actually. Installation Django filters with an S. There we go. So if we go back, filters. There we go, and put a comma there. If we look at the documentation, let's look at getting started. It kind of gives us an example of how we can set up filters, so that we filter by a class, like a filter class. So following this example here, what we're going to do is inside, forget the core, if we go to our films folder directory, we're going to create a new file called filters.py. So in that, we're going to import Django filters, and then we're going to create a class for film. But before we do that, we should import, so from this directory, models, import film. So now we're going to create this class. So I'm going to call it film filter, and that takes an argument of Django filters dot filter set. And then what we do here is we create what's called a class meta, and then we just tell it which model it's going to create filters from. So we're going to say from the film model. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tell it which fields that we want to search. I'm not going to do every single one. So if we go to our models here, we can see that our film model, because I'm using django-filter, as I said, there are two different ways I can think of doing this. I'm going to stick to the one. One of the ways is quite good because it allows me to filter for any text. So for example, I could do a search for text for the title, and then anyone else. So for example, like a main star or a director, that can go in there as well. I'm going to keep it a little more basic, just for the sake of getting this done. So I want to search for the title, the certificate, and I'm going to throw in rating as well. So rating is not here. We're going to have to add rating in a second. Title. The other one was certificate. Genre. We don't have rating, and the problem with rating is it's a calculated film. I can't get django-filter to run this particular method here. It wouldn't, because it's an SQL statement that wouldn't work essentially. So what we do then, we're going to have to change our model slightly. So I'm going to add average underscore rating equals models dot, let's add a float field, and the float field should have a default value equals 0. Okay, so at the moment, every film is going to have an average of 0. But what we want then is every time the film is rated, we want to run a method which will re-update the average. So we're going to do that by running another method here, and we'll call that one update average. Average update rating self, and then we'll say that avg underscore rating. So the actual field is going to be equal to self.ratings. So this then refers to our ratings model here. So whenever a film has been rated, it's going to run this. It's going to run this method for us. So ratings dot all, and then we're going to run what we did before. So we're going to say aggregate. It's because I can't spell, so that should be double G. That should be 1E. We're missing a bracket. There we go. So what we're going to do is then we're going to say self dot average underscore rating is equal to avg rating, and then we're going to say self dot save. Okay, so let's refer to this. So we're saying that every time a rating is saved or updated on the website, then this model here is going to be updated because of this function here. So hopefully that should work. So we're going to change our model slightly so that we use the keywords, I contains or exact or less than or more than, based on the type of filter that we're looking for. So for example, then if we go back to our filter here, what we want is we're actually going to change this just like in the example. We're going to get rid of that. It's going to make this a dictionary instead, and let's bring these each on a new line. Okay, and what we want is we want the title to run this idea that it says I contain, so that when they do a search, it doesn't have to be the exact title. It could just be something that it contains. When it comes to the certificate, we do want it to be exact, so that the search term that's put in, it has to be exact, because we can't just, we can't say something like the certificate. Actually, we're going to leave genre out. I'll explain why. The genre is because in my model, when I imported all of the films that we had from here, we have in the genre, we have more than one genre under for each. And what I didn't do was create a separate model to store all the genres separately and then do like a one-to-many relationship there. That will take me another video, so I don't want to go into that. So I'm going to leave genre out for now. But if we go back to filters, so we're going to leave genre out. And we'll leave it at that for now. And what we are going to do is we're going to have our rating. So our extra rating. So we'll say average rating, because it's got to be the same as it is the model. It's got to be spelled the same way. So average rating. So average rating equals Django underscore filters dot range filter. And then what we'll do is we'll just throw in the field name. So field underscore name equals, and we'll say avg rating. Did I spell it wrong? I spelled it wrong here. There we go. That's the problem. And it's also spelled wrong here, and it's spelled wrong there. There we go. That's better. I knew there was something wrong. Okay, so I think that's kind of our filters done. And in a second, then let's save that and let's make some migrations. So we'll say Python python.manage.py make migrations, because we've made some changes to our table. What have we done here? Unexpected indent. Where? Models line 36. Models line 36. Ah, that's why. Yeah, that should be correct. Let's try again. Good. And let's do the same thing and now migrate. Cool. And then what we'll do, I think I've already added the URL, I believe. Did I? Did I not do that in the previous video? No. So let's do that now. Let's add the URL. So let's say path. And let's call it search. And it will run a function that is. We haven't created that yet. Social we have. Homepage. No, let's add that here. Let's call it filter films. Filter underscore films, which takes a request. We need to pass our films through. So the difference is though, is before if we look at all the others, all the other views that we have, all the other functions, methods here, they call the film objects. So each one calls a film objects, but we're not going to do it in the same way because what we want to do is we are going to pass through our filter here. So let's say from this directory, filters, import film filter. Right. And so what we want this time is we're going to call on our film filters. We'll say film filter, and we're going to call a request. And on that request, we're going to run a get method because when we post, well, when I say post, we're going to make a request from a form. So we're going to get, we're going to make a get request. And the other thing we do is we call query set. So we're going to call a query set equals, and we're just saying what table we're making this request from, dot all. And then lastly, another thing we'll do, we're actually going to pass, because we want our results to come in the same way. Okay, so I'm going to copy some of this. I'm going to take the paginator line from the one above. So we want all of our results to still come in, you know, sort of rows of 10 or like pages of 10. Except the other difference here is when we say films, we're actually going to say QS because we're calling a query set. That's what's going to be returned. Just like before, we're going to have a page number. So let's pass that through as well. And paginator as well. Let's pass the context too. Good. And so our films is going to refer to films. That's correct. Our page object is going to refer to our page object. And then lastly, then we need to create a form. But the great thing about this is django-filter comes with a built-in form. So I don't have to write a separate form. We're literally going to say form refers to, let's do that. Form refers to films.form. So that's pretty cool. It's kind of automatically done it for us. And then in terms of what we return, we're going to return almost the same thing. We're going to make a slight change. So I'll borrow that, which is going to be just like the home page. And I'm going to edit that in just a moment. Okay. So what it looks to me as if, have I done that yet? Let's do filter films. Let's pass that. That was the whole point of going here. But you can see how quick and easy this should be. So films, and we're going to give it a name of, let's call it film. Let's just say film QS, film query set. Put a comma there, and that hasn't been imported. There we go. So there's our URLs. And so what we're missing then, literally there's not too much to this. We're going to go to our home page and we're going to make we're going to make a copy of that, because what we're going to have is exactly identical to this, except right at the top, I want a form. Okay, so let's make a copy of this. Let's copy, and in the same folder, let's just say paste. So we have a copy of it, and we'll rename it. And I'm just going to call this one films underscore QS, create reset. So then what we do is we go back to our views, and inside our views, we don't pass homepage. We pass this to, what do we call it? Films underscore QS. That's that. And then what's left now is we just want to create that form, right? So at the top of our page, in fact, before we do that, let's run the page first and just see if it works. So if we just run our let's run server. Here we go. So we'll say local 8,000. Okay, so if we were to go to search, so let's go / search. It does work, so the page does come up. Let's make it easy for ourselves. I mean, I might have to remove this. I mean, what I was planning was if I was going to do the other type of search, we would be able to search from here and it will take us to the search page and we'd have this filter form as well. But as I said, in the interest of finishing in one lesson, let's go to our base template and let's add in here. Let's copy and paste that. And let's call this one film filter. I believe we call that film underscore QS. So that should work if we save that. And then if we go back and just refresh, now we have film filter there and that does load. Good. All right, cool. So now what we want is we want to be able to show our a form at the top here. Okay, so I'm actually going to get rid of a title here. So let's go here. Let's go films. Let's get rid of that. I don't want the title. I don't want a horizontal line there either. Instead, what we'll do is we'll add that form in. And like I said, the hard work is done already because, you know, we don't have to do much because Django-filter comes with a lot built in. So let's start by adding a div dot, and let's use an alert. But let's make it a bootstrap alert. So we'll say alert. Let's go for light. Okay, so inside our alert now, no, you know what? Let's give a margin from the top. Let's see first. So if I refresh that, the title is going to be gone, and we have an alert. But I want a margin from here, so let's go here. Let's say margin top 3. That's better. Good. And then what we'll do is we'll build our form into this. So we'll say form. And our form action is that we want to call a URL. So whenever this form is enacted, we want to call our URL, and our URL is films, and I believe it was, if we go back to here, it was film QS. So we want to borrow that and stick that there. So film QS, and what did I do? QS, and every form has a method. So I'll say method equals get. And like I said, then this is very straightforward. Yeah, don't forget, from the back end we've already passed in form. So if we say form as p, and then let's just have a button to submit this as well. So we'll say input, that would be text. We'll give it a value equals submit. And let's give it a bootstrap button. So I'll say btn warning. Let's see how that looks. We refresh. Cool. So it's done it for us. Yeah. So it's created this form for us. Essentially, as it goes, this should work. So at the moment, we've got, all the films on our list are here. And if we were to say, right, let's just have the films that are PG and click on submit. Oh, okay, hold on. So here we've said input is text. Really, the input should be, so the button should be a type submit. That's why this is not working. So if we go back now, and if we refresh, the button is more of a button. And like I said, if we search for something with X, there we go. Right, so we've got all the results with films that have X in the name. If we were to say, let's look for all films 12A. So now we're going to have two daisy chained results. There we go. The only thing I'm going to say then is more or less that's all of it done. Yeah, that's the whole idea. Is this doesn't look very nice. So, and also the other thing as well is I'm now coming to, I keep forgetting every single video to put in the rating here. And I want to remove the blue icon from here because I don't think you need to see your own rating here. I think we'll leave the ratings for the individual page so you can rate a film. I'm not logged in apparently on the individual page. So if we go back again, so we'll do that as well. So first things first, so using Bootstrap then, we go to docs. I just want to, if we go down to form control. So what I want is I want an equally spaced out form. And I also want to have I want to have some select icons there for, so I want it to look a bit like that, except this is very wide, as you can see, for something that's so small. So I want to make all of these less wide. So to do that, if we go back to here, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to get rid of these titles as well. I'm going to put these as placeholders within the boxes themselves. So what we'll do for that is we will say, rather than have this, we can get rid of that. The other way we can do it instead is we can just pass the forms with their names. So actually, look, if I have to show you an example, we go back here, if I right click and click on page source, what we can see is what each what the ID for each form looks for, and this is what's been generated by django-filter, and I want to use that. So I can say here that there's our form, here's a label, this is what I'm looking for. So here's my title contains. I can literally take that. Let's take that and let's stick that here. Boom. In fact, I'll do one other thing. I'll come back in a second. So I'll say title contains blah 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 blah, and I want to give this a class. So I say class, and I also want to say placeholder. So what we'll say is placeholder is title contains. So that will be written inside. And where we have class, again, I just want the example from Bootstrap, and I always forget. I think it's just form control. So any form label, form control. So I think if I take that, that will bootstrapify a bit more. Cool. And let's go back to the other ones. So next we're going to have, we've got our select, and then we're going to have our range as well. So let me just take our range inputs. Boom, boom. And I'm going to put those there. Let's get rid of that. And just like before, let's give these form control placeholders, and this will style it out in Bootstrap styling. So this will be our smallest number. So we'll say min rating, minimum rating. And this will be our max rating. Cool. Which leaves us what? That leaves us with our select query. So if we go back to here, select should look like that. So I'll take that actually, and we will stick that here. And we're going to get rid of the options. I'm just going to copy the options from, what do you call it, from here. Here's our options. And okay, so what we're looking for here is this must include the name certificate and ID certificate. So can I just copy that? So and then we'll just borrow name and ID certificate and we'll keep the class. So we'll go here, class, get rid of that. Okay. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Oh, and I probably want this as a row. Oh, okay, look, so it's got it all on separate rows. It's definitely more bootstrapified, except what I wanted actually was it all to be in one row. So let's use an input group. So I'm just going to use this line here that says input group. Let's put that at the top here, input group. And if I nest them all inside, because they're now part of that group, including this one here, cool. We'll just say here, let's close the div tag. How does it look now? Not bad, not bad. Actually, that's not bad. If I delete that, title contains, that's working, that's working, that's working. And does it work though? So let's say if we were to search for Die Hard, it does work. Okay, so now if I was to search for films that are U, get X, it does work. Okay, here's what's not going to work. Okay, here's something that's not going to work is if I was to go to any film, and let's say for example I was to search for a minimum rating of 6, okay, it's going to give me no results at all. The reason why that's going to happen is because every single film that we have here, has not been updated yet in the table. So if you remember, I made a change to, if I go to the models, I made a change to the model and added that. Now every single film, essentially, the default value is 0 until I make a change to a film. And then once that film is saved, then it reruns this line of code here, which will get the average again, which will then update the average. Let's try that for a film and see if it works. Okay. So first things first, let's log in. I think it was admin. Okay, so if I change that one, if I go to ratings, look, average rating is set to 0. That's why they're all going to be bad. If I was to say, let's just change that one to an average rating of 7.4 and save that. And if that was to be resaved later, so if I was to do that and I say average rating of 6 minimum, care about that, remove that. Yeah, now it does work. So it is working. So it goes to show that it does work. So yeah, I feel like this video is probably going for long enough. So the idea was to make the filter work. We have got a working filter. I believe that's the end of the series. You know, I don't think I've left anything out apart from I did say that I wanted to change this, right? So if I go to the home page, I said that I wanted to change this on all the pages. So here, where we say film, if we go back to our models, we will run the function here. We'll say average rating. And let's paste that there. And then really what I should do is do the same for each page. So if we go to films here, oops, save that and save that. And lastly, I believe that was it. So now if we go back to home page again and just refresh that. Yeah, so now that's fine. So even though it says 5.4 here, on the back end, it's because I updated the average on the model to be 6 something. So yeah, okay. It seems like it works. Off the top of my head, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Um, and so yeah, thank you for watching and following. Thanks for the guys that messaged to say that you wanted me to finish this one off. I did have it in the back of my mind to constantly always do that. So yeah, look out for my next series now. Thanks very much, guys.